I've got a question for you this week. Do you believe in fairies? Do you believe in fairy magic? And that's what we're going to journal about for this week's video, the fairies. And you have to be careful with fairies because they can be a bit pesky. So I've made a few additions to my journal, not many really, and I have started working in it. But the first thing I realised was that I was getting annoyed with the string because it was getting tangled. And so I just tied a couple of knots in the whole thing, and then I've started just kind of winding it round and then just tucking it in, and then keeps everything together, but it's much quicker to then open rather than having to tie it one way and then tie the other way, which obviously I can't do now. So that's one thing I've changed. I think if you get annoyed with something, it's always a big sign that you need to change something, isn't it? I haven't sewn my pocket yet, so maybe I need to get my sewing machine out later and fix that pocket, maybe change it as well. I'm not sure about it. There's something not quite right about that, but that's okay because you can keep changing things. I haven't done any in this part, but I did do some journaling yesterday and on Monday. This is for the Patreon page, so we're doing a self-love month for December. I do a journaling prompt every month, and this month we're doing self-love. So I did all about filling your cups and flowing into the saucer. And also I took off my little cabochon thing because it was again annoying me because it was too heavy, and I randomly found this really cute little teacup. If I can show you that. See that? It's really cute and tiny, and it's much lighter, and obviously goes to my teacup page. So today what I thought I would do, because I'd had quite a few questions about what do I do on the patterned paper, I thought I would, work on some patterned paper, and that's probably the most challenging piece I've got. Might work on this spread or I might work on this spread. And I'm going to need to strengthen this page because it's a bit flimsy. So I've got another piece of craft paper that's got some stenciling on it, and I thought I would just stick that down, and that's going to help strengthen that. And also it hides that little staple as well. Strengthens that page. And then here I've got some space to do a little bit more journaling as well. So that's where I'm at so far. Yeah, so I thought I'd turn the camera around and have a little chat first before we start. So before I show you the bits and bobs that I've gathered, which I'm going to make a really easy peasy journal page out of, which anyone can do, and it's a really nice way to jump into your journal when you're scared to start. You've got blank pages and you don't know what to do on them. I know that feeling. I think most of us go through it, if not everybody, where we have times where we're scared to create. And I suppose the idea of what I want to do today in my journal has been, has been fed from yesterday's journaling, where I was doing the teacups and the self-love thing and stuff. So I think that's all evolved. I did a lot of writing yesterday in my writing journal. And I think when you do that, when you're actually able to write things down, it's amazing what blockages are cleared. And there's a little way through somewhere where perhaps there wasn't before. So I definitely recommend doing some writing as well. And I'll show you all that in a minute anyway. So what I've got out today then is all my fairies. So basically, I love fairies and I love fairy magic, and I see fairies as natural nature spirits, elementals. And I do think a lot of us have a real fascination with fairies, don't we? And one of my favourite fairy artists is Arthur Rackham. So I might get inspired by some of his works today as well. I've got a lovely Arthur Rackham calendar, which I like to flick through from time to time. So if you've ever seen the very first video that I ever put up on YouTube, which was basically me reading out a poem that I'd written when I don't write poems. So it was an inspired piece of writing that I wrote in the middle of the night, really, over a period of 2 or 3 nights. And I think it was one of the ideas fairies. Now, if you have read Elizabeth Gilbert's book, we talked about this a few weeks ago, didn't we, when we were talking about the imitation or inspiration video. So the ideas fairies, according to Elizabeth Gilbert, she also wrote Eat, Pray, Love, so you might have heard of her. But she also wrote a book about creativity, which was called Big Magic. Now, she talks about ideas fairies, where there's lots of ideas running around as fairies, and they want to become manifest in the world, in the 3D world. And so they come and knock on your door, and they wake you up in the middle of the night, and they keep knocking and bothering you until you take the idea into reality, into our world, if you like. But the other thing that can happen is if you ignore the ideas fairy for too long, she or he can get a little bit upset and desert you and go knock on someone else's door with exactly the same idea. And that's exactly what happened to Elizabeth Gilbert, who had written a whole idea and put it to a publisher for a book, a work of fiction, and she didn't have time to write the book. And then a few years later, she met someone at some kind of conference or talk or something like that was writing the same story pretty much. So there is something in this, and I do think inspiration and magic works hand in hand with our intuition, doesn't it? So if we can really touch base with where we're at and how we're feeling and loosen up our thoughts and ideas, I really think that is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to really free yourself creatively, let go of all your blocks and expectations, and then we can really go for it in our journals. So without me waffling on too much about the ideas fairies, what I've done is I've got all my postcards and stickers with fairies on, and I've also got the ideas fairy as well. That's the ideas fairy that I painted while I was living in Llandudno on the Great Orme, which is where Lewis Carroll became inspired to write the Alice stories. And I know I've told the story before about not being able to sleep while we were house sitting there for a couple of months. And we had 3 dogs and a parrot to take care of, and it was absolutely fun. And the Great Orme was like living on a wild island. And so I used to wake up in the night and become very inspired. And this painting was in process and I didn't know how to finish it. This is just a postcard, obviously, but the painting now belongs to someone that really loves fairies, and she fell in love with her at a market. She also wrote a poem. So I've got a printout of the poem that I think I'm going to use in my journaling as well. So we've got a combination of things going on here. We've got the self-love aspect. We've got the ideas fairies, and then we've got the inspiration. And I found a quote in an old journal this morning. Hang on a sec. So basically, for me this morning to get inspired, I came in having my cup of tea, and I was flicking through, as I often do, my old journals, and I found a quote by Sharon West, and it says, "Imagination belongs to hope. It's the creative dance of possibility." And I thought, oh, perfect, because I really want to move into, from 2021 to 2022, with lots of elements or branches to my self-love tree, if you like. And one of the branches that I'd really like to include, and I want to be journaling about at the moment, is all my ideas and inspirations. So who better to help than the ideas fairies and this fairy, who's called the airy fairy, and she's definitely an ideas fairy. And when I post a big print of the airy fairy, we always include a poem as well. So first things first, I'm going to choose a page, and I think I'm going to go for this page, this spread, and I'm just going to do a little fix first, because I don't know if you remember, but some of the pages needed a little bit more reinforcement, and I'm just using my plastic-free parcel tape, which is nice and strong, and it does a lot better of a job than the washi tape. So I think I'm also going to tape over those staples as well. And then I'm just going to stick this page down, and I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use my matte medium today. So I'll just slot something in between, protect the other pages, because obviously all the pages are different sizes. So, and then I'm just going to grab a brush and then just give it a good coating. Particular attention, of course, to the edges. Wrap that in a wet wipe and then it won't dry out. So I'm just going to, I think, press this book on top and the teacup out the way. There we go. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned in last week or the week before that this is a piece of art by Josephine Wall, and it is a Peter Pauper Press journal, and it's called the Spirit of Flight Journal. And as I say, I have been doing quite a lot of journaling, writing in here, and yeah, creating some sparks for these pages I want to do. And of course, as we move into from an old year to a new year, it's nice to have those times to reflect and then think about the things that you want to bring in, isn't it? So that's kind of where I'm at. So let's just check this page as well, because I think I'm getting glue all over that page, which is okay. That's gluing down quite nicely now. I've just given that a really good push. Okay. So the only thing I'm not sure about on this page is I'm not sure about this purple. I'm not a big fan of too much purple, so I might push that back a little bit with some white, I'm thinking. Do I go light or do I go dark? So now I've collaged her down, I'm going to add some dark paint, I think, or darkish paint, just around the fairy. I've kind of got a Prussian bluey green here, just to kind of blend her into the background a little bit so she doesn't just look quite so stuck on. And I think here I'm going to draw in some wings. And yeah, get rid of some of that purple as well. And I'm not going really opaque. I'm just going in with a kind of mix with my matte medium to kind of make it a little bit like a glaze. The idea is that you let your layers show through. So you don't want to completely obliterate what's underneath. So you can see here I've still got the pattern of the paper coming through, and I've still got the stenciling I did as well. And I might put some more stenciling over the top. So I've got the end of the wings, just wiping away to get the end of the wings, or the suggestion of the end of the wings if you like. Maybe wipe a little bit of that off as well. Get the stenciling coming through a little bit. So far I've had no drawing or anything like that. I'm just literally using any collaged image, and obviously I want to be using a fairy, you know, because I do paint fairies, then it's nice to use my own fairy if that makes sense. I'm kind of liking the look of this fabric with Airy Fairy. So I might add this as an extra somewhere else. I think as you're kind of doing things, new thoughts and ideas come, don't they? So I'm going to wait for all that to dry. And by the way, this is a Tim Holtz collection stencil. So I've had that years. So do I want to handwrite this poem, or do I want to cut and paste? Let's see. I'll just speed you up a bit again so you don't get bored. I'm really trying to make this video not so long as well.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on. I put my feet up, and we just sing along.
So I haven't used the whole poem because this is my favourite part of the poem. I ground in trees and bury deep my tiny little fairy feet in sacred Mother Earth, and she never leaves my side, and she never leaves my side. And because of this, I am unstoppable for all of time complete. So I've just got some white paint, and I'm just gonna do a little rough outline of where the wings are gonna be. Give it a little bit more to kind of blend it in a little bit. And I'm just gonna wipe it off a bit as well with the wet wipe again. Just want to give an impression that her wings don't stop, you know, at the end of that line there. Try and blend that in a little bit. So I'm going to brighten it up a little bit, I think, by doing some stenciling, a bit more stenciling over the top. Is this dry yet? I think so. So let's just see. Just push that back a little bit. Almost looks a little bit like leaves in the forest is kind of what I'm thinking. Just kind of in a bed of leaves. And again, just push some of that bright back where it's splodged a bit. But I like accidents. I like the accidents to happen. So a couple more layers there. Just got some Prussian blue, turquoise deep paint, and did a glaze over the top as you saw. And yeah, just drawing the wings in a little bit. So let's see, we've lost the wings a little bit. Let's put those back. Just get a little brush, I think, maybe a smaller one than that. And just put a little bit of wings. Okay, now just keeping that really, really simple. And then I think I need to wait for that side to dry. So it's just a case of, well, on this side, I want to have space to write, because here's where I want to write all the ideas from the Ideas Fairy. And this fairy is called Earth Fairy, actually. She's not, obviously, Airy Fairy. And Earth Fairy does ground in trees and bury deep her fairy feet, so that's why I kind of used her here. And I also wanted to add the quote by Sharon West, "Imagination belongs to hope. It's the creative dance of possibility." So shall I rewrite that out, or shall I stick that? I think I'll rewrite that out on here on this page. And I'm going to use I think a white pen, just a Posca paint pen here, just to write out my quote. And I want spaces to write on here, so I don't want to paint over that. This is nice decoration to write on. And then this side, I can write over the top once it's dry, either in like a gold or a white paint as well. I'd like to have room to put my ideas down for the Ideas Fairy, if that makes sense. Give her a space to actually put her ideas down. That's the idea, anyway. So just wipe a little bit off her face there, but yeah, just sort of put some little organic flowers and things like that around her, because obviously she's in the earth. And you can still see the original paper coming through. Can I zoom in a little bit? Hang on a sec. Yes, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a really nice texture coming through up here and around. You can still see some of those colours coming through, and then obviously all the other layers as well. What to add now then? Let's have a think. I might add a little bit more gold, because that stenciling has kind of got rid of some of the gold. And I'm just going to go in with my finger. And I think she needs a little bit of glitter perhaps as well. So I'm just going to use a really easy glitter glue. So I think I just need to add a couple more things on this side. And I might change this writing to black because it doesn't show up very much. The white paint pen has really soaked into this craft paper. So I just think I need to do a couple of embellishments, but still leaving some spaces to write. And I've still got some room to write around the fairy a little bit as well. And I could even collage words over the top if I wanted to later. So it's just about giving a space to work really for this little ideas fairy. Let's have a think about this side then. So let's just pin this down a little bit then. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go over those letters black. So I'll just do that and then come back.
Gravel road, I've been asked to slow down. Fireplace, do you know how? Piles of paper, my desk is out. Who will care for the world now? Rest with me, close to curtains, brew some herbal tea. Reach out for me, take my hand and lead.
I just put fill my soul with inspiration from the ideas fairies, just to remind myself of kind of where the idea came from. And obviously I've put the quote as well, and the ideas fairy is on there with her poem. And I've now got a place to put her ideas down. And in fact, on the other side of here, I'm thinking I might use some of this fabric with Airy Fairy on the next page, and then maybe include some more of her poem as well. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, there's a couple of pages complete now next to my teacup. I've got self-love teacups, and then the ideas fairy for a whole load of inspiration for 2022. I'm just going to double check and see if there's any finishing touches that I'd like to do. And I think I might just sort of stamp on the date. I think that's all I might do.
Slow the ride, discover books I forget about, but who care for the world now? Rest with me.
So I'll leave you in peace for now, because I'm a tired little fairy, and you might want to go off and have your own adventures with your own ideas fairy. And if you do any pages and you want to tag me on Instagram, I would love to see any artwork that you do in your journals. Try to keep your lights shining bright, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Mwah. I woke up this morning and I was thinking about, hang on a sec. Yeah, I was thinking about this Strathmore watercolour book. You know, the ones that had the sticky marks on the front that I managed to get off. So I'm thinking of sending it back, because I don't think I actually am going to use it for what I've bought it for. Now, it's a lovely watercolour book, so I'm not dissing it, and I really like the soft cover. But I think I have enough watercolour paper, so I can't really justify myself keeping it. I think it was about £23, because these are really expensive to get hold of in the UK. But I've been a bit of a Strathmore paper girl for quite some time. I would say about 9 or 10 years I've been a Strathmore paper girl. And so I've got my Khadi watercolour paper, and I've also got a load of mixed media paper, which works really well with watercolour. And I've also got a block of the Archer's paper. And you just kind of slide your palette knife under there to take your papers off. But that's really lovely paper, my favourite paper I think at the moment. So I think I'm going to send this one back as well. So that'll be 3 that I've sent back. I have actually ordered, though, another composition notebook. So I'm thinking of starting a composition notebook alongside my handmade journal as well. So that's what I'm thinking. And then just send this expensive one back, because I've got some lovely paper to work in for when I'm doing my painting practice. And I don't necessarily need it that good quality for my journaling. I can kind of stick bits and bobs in if I need to do something more higher quality. I don't know, I still don't know, the saga of trying to get a ready-made art journal